Hello, everyone. I wanted to talk today for a few minutes about tackling the blank page. I know that as a teacher and a coach, I came across this issue many times, but also as a student and as someone who needs to write professionally, it can really paralyze us when we look at that blank page or the blank screen. And so today, let's jump into that a little bit. I'm Isaac Wells with the Core Collaborative, and this is another Lunch and Learn. Now, one thing I love about getting to work with our youngest learners is their enthusiasm about writing, because so many of our students, by the time they enter school, whether it's a transitional kinder, a kindergarten, whatever it might be, may have already been told that they can't read the words on the page. So they come in knowing that they're not yet a reader, and they internalize that. But very few of them have been told that about writing. So we so often with these young students get the chance to encourage them and help them to understand that whatever mark they put on the page that has meaning is writing in some sense. Now, unfortunately, that sense of self and that belief in their ability to be a writer can fade very quickly, even within that first year. And so that's what I really want to talk about for students of any age. What are some things we can do to help them get started when they're just stuck? And so today I'm going to share a couple of ideas with you. The main one is using some visuals, using some artwork to kind of get kids thinking about this, and then to transfer that to their writing, their print and their text. And then also to share some prompts that may help. So first, just imagine you're in your classroom. Now, I'm going to do this a little bit rapid fire, but in your classroom, this would be a discussion. So I like to put up an image that I think will stir something in the audience. So this, of course, powerful ancient image, and let them just look at it for a few moments. Just say, okay, we're going to take a minute to study this, or however long you choose. And then go through some questions that you very likely use in other subjects too. First, just what do you see? What does this make you think? What do you notice? What do you wonder? What background knowledge are you using right now to make some assumptions or to make sense of this? Or, related to those wonderings, what background knowledge would be helpful to decode what you're seeing? So we just have a discussion about that, about the art, and then we move on to this, maybe in another session or at the same time, and say, okay, what do you think was the purpose of this? Why did someone take the time to make these marks, whether that be print or in this case, images? Who was the audience? Now, I do this with adults as well as with children, and it's so interesting to hear what people think. This might be a journal entry, remembering an important hunt. It might be a recording for future generations to let them know this is how we work with other animals to hunt, or this is about a special time, or maybe this is a special warrior from our time. Who knows what it might be? They might come up with, this was part of storytelling. I love to do draw and tell exercises with students. And so maybe this was that. There was a storyteller in the cave, and they were, kind of drawing as they went, or they drew and used this almost like a picture book. We don't know, but that's the power of these images. Now, in this series, I like the juxtaposition of these two. One, the scene of the hunting, and then the scene of the hands, most of which are in relief. And then again, asking, what is the purpose? But then here too, I like to ask some things like, what do you think this artist values? Or maybe what does this image tell you about the values of these people? And again, who is the audience? Was it just for themselves to say, we are here? Was it meant almost like carving your name into the tree? Things like that. But why were they doing this? And you can really get into some discussions about who were these people? Who were they thinking of when they created this? Why did they do this? And then this I love because it brings those two together. So here we ask, what is the purpose? And then, of course, again, we're going to go to who is the audience. It's interesting with children because they really jump right away, almost that idea of signing your work or putting yourself into it, or that idea of craft, like there's a little bit of me in my artwork. But then it also might be that these were done at different times. Maybe someone did one set of drawings and you see these different symbols that might be water or mountains. We see uh, images that look like people, images that look like many different types of animals and in different colors. Maybe they're all done at once, maybe they're done over time. And then, of course, like I said, who's the audience? Now, I just have to bounce back to this because something I've never heard from children in the times I've gotten to do this with them, but I've heard from many adults is that they see this as a scary scene, almost something that would be like on the poster of a horror film. I would have never seen that looking at it thousands of times, but I love that those discussions bring up, like, why do we think that? Could that be true? Uh, and so then those were intentionally some images meant to bring something up in the viewer to have some kind of emotional connection to it. But then this hits a little closer to home. If we share an image like this with our students and say, okay, what is the purpose of this? Who is the audience? Well, this to me looks like the kind of artwork that goes up on the fridge or that you give to someone. Even when a child simply sits down to draw something like this, they may later decide to give it to the teacher, to give it to a friend, to give it to a relative. And you know those beautiful words will say, I did this for you. And it may not be literally true. They may not have sat down and said, okay, I'm going to make this for this person, but something about what they put into it, they wanted to share it. And so when they can understand that, they start to see, okay, so I can create images and create ideas on paper that have some meaning or give some feeling to others. Here's another example of that, a happy birthday card or a get well soon card, things like that. That has a related purpose maybe to this one, or maybe this one, the assignment was, you just read this great story, I want to see the characters and the setting. And then you see there's three characters together, there's the setting, they're outside the house, if that mattered to the story. Uh, Whereas this is a more personal connection. And so we get into that idea of you might draw a picture in this to show how you feel. You might express it with words or some combination, but to get clear on that purpose and audience. Last one I'll show uh, is this one, especially with those third, fourth, fifth grade students. They like this type of example to say, okay, what's the purpose and what's your audience? And it's so clear, but it's something that's so ubiquitous in our day-to-day life that we don't even think about it. Why are those there? Who are they for? And the reason to go through all those things is that writing, when we have a clear purpose and we know our audience, then writing is directly related to our speech, because kids don't talk without a purpose and without an audience. And we always are telling them, you know, writing is to speaking, as reading is to listening. But often there is a disconnect, because in some of their speaking, yes, we're giving them a clear task, or we're prompting them, or we're asking them questions. But in most of their speaking throughout the day and throughout their lives, they're doing it, you know, without clear prompting. They're just having a conversation. They're wondering something, so they ask. They're excited about something, so they share about it. They've just heard a great story or had an experience, so they tell that story on to another person, retelling or creating their own. When we can get kids clear on their purpose and audience, they're ready to start their writing, and we get so much more out of them. We get that craft, we get their own word choice, we get that perseverance we're always looking for in writing. When they know who they're writing this for and why, they're much more willing to go back and revise. So on this screen, you can screenshot this, watch it again, or maybe I'll even make a little handout later and share that out with some more. But I'd love for you to add to these in the comments. Let us know what are other great prompts for purpose and audience. And I think I'll do in the next week or two maybe a quick session on raft or crafts which are some great ways to help students think about the context and the purpose, and really the way they're going to get their ideas across. Because we know even in virtual learning, or really I should say especially in virtual learning, our connection to our students drives their growth in writing, and their connection to their own audience is going to drive that. So I do hope this is one small piece in helping kids really take off with writing and get those first marks on the page. As always, you can join us at the Core Contributes for more opportunities to learn and for a reflection journal so you can get credit for your learning and keep track of it for yourself. Here's some ways you can keep in touch with us. We do hope you'll share the great things you're doing. And until next time, have a wonderful day.